There are rituals happening inside churches right now that may have origins far darker than you ever imagined. You may have participated in them, witnessed them, and never thought twice. But what if I told you that some of the most sacred practices in Christianity, ones that millions follow with devotion, are actually rooted in ancient occult traditions, pagan rituals, and even satanic symbolism? What if certain acts of worship, believed to be purely Christian, actually mirror hidden rites used for centuries to invoke mystical forces? The shocking truth is that some church rituals may not be as holy as they seem. Christianity didn't emerge in a vacuum. It spread through regions steeped in ancient traditions, mystery cults, and secret societies. Over time, some of these old-world rituals were absorbed, rebranded, and disguised as Christian doctrine. But their true origins? Carefully hidden. Today we will reveal 5 shocking rituals that might be carrying traces of satanic influence, right inside churches that claim to preach the truth. We'll expose how the Eucharist eerily resembles pagan blood sacrifices, why the use of candles may be tied to esoteric summoning, and how church chants could have hidden mystical power. You'll also discover symbols embedded in church architecture that connect to secret societies, and how baptism shares shocking similarities with ancient initiation rites. Now, I want to know which country you're watching from. Drop your country in the comments so we can see how far this truth is reaching. And before we begin, don't forget to like this video, because that helps this investigation reach more people. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a revelation like this. And if you know someone who should see this, share this video with them right now, because what you're about to learn may change the way you see Christianity forever. For centuries, believers have gathered in churches, taking part in one of the most sacred rites in Christianity, the Eucharist. The priest raises the bread and the cup, declaring that they have become the body and blood of Christ. It's a moment of reverence, a connection with divinity, a sacred act of remembrance. But what if this practice has roots that predate Christianity? What if this solemn ritual mirrors something far older, something with ties to pagan traditions, mysterious blood sacrifices, and ancient gods? Today, we unravel the shocking connections that few dare to discuss. To fully grasp the weight of transubstantiation, we must look beyond church walls and into the past. Ancient civilizations, from the Egyptians to the Babylonians, engaged in ritualistic consumption of divine flesh. In certain cults, consuming the essence of a deity was believed to grant spiritual power or even eternal life. Take, for instance, the Mithraic Mysteries, a widespread Roman cult where followers consumed a sacred meal symbolizing the body and blood of Mithras, a god often linked to the sun. These practices were not simply symbolic but deeply ritualistic, reinforcing the idea that divine essence could be absorbed through consumption. Could it be that the Eucharist, in its current form, carries remnants of these ancient traditions? The Bible itself warns against rituals that echo pagan customs. In Leviticus 17:10-12, God strictly forbids the consumption of blood, stating that life is in the blood and it must be respected, not ingested. Yet, in the New Testament, Jesus says in John 6:53, "Unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you." Was Christ presenting a divine mystery, or was his statement later interpreted through a lens that mirrored older traditions? Early Christians faced immense pressure from Roman and Greek influences, and some argue that elements of pagan mystery religions seeped into Christian practices as the faith spread. What's even more startling is how certain mystical sects throughout history have embraced the concept of consuming divine flesh as a way to gain supernatural power. Occultists have long believed that consuming something grants dominion over it. Even today, esoteric groups conduct rituals involving symbolic or literal consumption as an act of spiritual empowerment. The very act of transubstantiation, where the bread and wine are said to physically transform into the flesh and blood of Christ, bears striking similarities to rites meant to channel divine energy. Could it be that what we see in church today is not purely Christian, but a fusion of ancient mystical traditions repackaged into a holy sacrament? So the question lingers: when believers partake in the Eucharist, are they engaging in a divinely ordained ritual, or are they unknowingly participating in something far older, something veiled in the shadows of history? Could it be that Christianity adopted, reshaped, and sanctified a ritual with origins beyond the faith itself? This is not about dismissing faith, but about understanding where certain practices truly come from. And if one sacred rite can be traced back to pre-Christian origins, what else within the church carries echoes of the past? Let's move forward and uncover more hidden truths. Step into any church, and you'll notice something subtle yet ever-present. Candles flickering on altars, illuminating sacred spaces, creating an atmosphere of reverence. They symbolize light, prayer, and divine presence. But what if these humble flames carry meanings far beyond what most believers realize? Could their use in Christian rituals be linked to ancient occult traditions, hidden in plain sight? The deeper we look, the more we uncover unsettling connections between this simple practice and the secretive world of esoteric symbolism. To understand the spiritual power attributed to candles, we must look at their historical significance. Long before Christianity, civilizations such as the Egyptians, Babylonians, and Druids used candles in rituals to summon spirits, communicate with the divine, and even cast spells. In occult traditions, different candle colors correspond to specific intentions: red for power, blue for wisdom, white for purity. Interestingly, many churches follow a similar pattern, using color-coded candles for Advent, Lent, and other observances. But why do these ancient customs persist? Are these just coincidences? Or do they reveal a hidden layer of meaning that has been passed down through the ages? In many esoteric circles, the act of lighting a candle is believed to be an invocation, a way to summon spiritual forces. In magical traditions, a candle serves as a conduit between the physical and the spiritual realm. This aligns eerily with how candles are used in Christian practices, where they are lit for saints, prayers, and even for the souls of the departed. In Matthew 5:14-16, Jesus refers to his followers as the light of the world, but nowhere in the Bible does he command the use of candles in worship. So, where did this practice originate? Could it be that the flickering flames inside churches today are remnants of ancient rites meant to invoke unseen forces? Even the way candles are arranged on altars mirrors mystical traditions. In certain occult practices, candle placement follows precise geometric patterns meant to channel energy. The pentagram, the triangle of manifestation, and the circle of protection are configurations found in both magical rites and certain church altars. Additionally, some church designs incorporate hidden occult symbols within their candle arrangements. Why would such patterns, ones historically linked to mysticism and hidden knowledge, be present in places meant for Christian worship? Perhaps the real question is, do these symbols hold power simply because of their history? Or does their presence in churches indicate something deeper, an intentional blending of ancient mysticism with Christian practice? When believers light a candle in prayer, are they truly invoking divine guidance, or are they unknowingly engaging in a ritual far older, with roots in spiritual traditions that predate Christianity? If this simple act contains layers of hidden meaning, what other church traditions might carry similar esoteric connections? Let's keep going. There's more to uncover. Imagine stepping into a grand cathedral, the air thick with incense, the murmurs of a congregation rising in unison. The voices blend into a hypnotic rhythm, repeating the same phrases over and over. There's something deeply powerful about these chants, something ancient, something beyond mere words. But have you ever wondered if there's more to these sacred hymns than meets the ear? Could it be that some of these seemingly harmless chants share a hidden connection with mystical incantations, ones designed to summon forces that most believers never intended to invoke? From the earliest days of human spirituality, repetitive vocalization has been a gateway to altered states of consciousness. In Hinduism and Buddhism, mantras are recited to align the spirit with divine energies. In indigenous shamanic traditions, rhythmic chanting induces trance states, allowing communication with the spiritual realm. Even in occultism, spoken incantations serve as direct calls to supernatural entities. Now, consider this. Many Christian hymns and prayers follow a strikingly similar pattern. The repetition of phrases like Kyrie eleison, Lord have mercy, or even the constant recitation of the rosary mirrors these ancient mystical practices. Could it be that these repetitive chants, even within Christian traditions, hold a hidden resonance that connects to something far older and more mysterious? Biblically speaking, words hold power. Proverbs 18:21 states, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." In Matthew 6:7, Jesus warns against vain repetitions as the heathen do, Yet many church rituals involve endless cycles of repetition. Why? The human mind, when exposed to rhythmic phrases, enters a meditative state. This phenomenon, known as spiritual entrainment, allows for a deeper emotional and psychological response. But here's the chilling part. This same method is used in occult and pagan rites to summon spirits, manifest desires, or invoke supernatural forces. Could it be that some Christian congregations are unknowingly engaging in a ritual far older than they realize? There are also documented cases where certain religious songs and chants have hidden meanings. For example, in the Middle Ages, the Dies Irae, a Gregorian chant about divine judgment, was said to have origins in ancient mystery traditions. Some scholars argue that specific Latin phrases in church hymns were adapted from pagan invocations. Even the idea of calling upon the name of the Lord resembles the concept of summoning. Though one is meant for worship, the structural similarities cannot be ignored. If words have the power to create, to bless, or to curse, then what exactly happens when millions of believers chant something they do not fully understand? So here's the real question. Are these repetitive phrases simply a form of worship, or could they also serve as invocations with deeper, unintended effects? If the origins of some Christian chants can be traced back to mystical and esoteric traditions, what else within the church might have been unknowingly inherited from those who once used words not to worship, but to wield supernatural power? Let's keep going, because what we're about to uncover next will take us even deeper into the hidden layers of church traditions. Step into any grand cathedral, and you'll feel it immediately. A presence, an almost mystical energy in the air. The towering arches, the intricate stained glass, the high vaulted ceilings, all designed to inspire awe. But is there more to church architecture than meets the eye? Could it be that hidden within these sacred walls lie symbols and secrets that point to something far older, something with connections to ancient mysticism, celestial alignments, and even occult influences? Many believe that churches are simply places of worship, but when we take a closer look, we find a coded language of symbols, numbers, and designs that may hold far deeper meanings. Throughout history, the construction of sacred buildings has followed principles not just of engineering, but of esoteric wisdom. Ancient temples, whether Egyptian, Greek, or Roman, were aligned with celestial bodies built with mathematical precision to harness spiritual energy. Now, consider this. Many of the grand cathedrals of Europe are built on sites where pagan temples once stood. Coincidence or a continuation of something older? The Gothic cathedrals of France, for example, mirror the constellations in their layout. Notre Dame, Chartres, and Amiens align with the positions of specific stars, an architectural feature eerily reminiscent of how the pyramids of Giza align with Orion's belt. Why would Christian churches be constructed with such celestial precision unless there was an underlying esoteric knowledge guiding their design? Then there are the symbols, the carvings hidden in stone, the arrangements of windows, even the placement of the altar. Many churches contain pentagrams, all-seeing eyes, and sacred geometric patterns, symbols widely used in mystical traditions and secret societies. The Vesica Piscis, a shape found in many church windows, is an ancient symbol of divine creation, yet it was also central to Pythagorean mysticism and later adopted by occult groups. The labyrinths on cathedral floors, particularly in places like Chartres Cathedral, resemble initiation pathways used in mystery schools. Even the very structure of a church, its nave, apse, and transept, bears striking similarity to the layouts of ancient temples dedicated to gods long forgotten. And what about Freemasonry? It is well documented that Masonic influence has played a role in the design of some of the most famous churches in the world. The Washington National Cathedral, for example, contains explicit Masonic symbols embedded in its architecture. The Vatican itself has obelisks, structures originally used in Egyptian worship, standing at the very heart of St. Peter's Square. Many of these churches follow the principles of sacred geometry, a concept deeply rooted in Hermetic and mystical traditions. Even the concept of laying a cornerstone, seen in church foundations, has connections to ancient initiation rituals, where the first stone was believed to hold spiritual significance, much like the cornerstone referred to in Psalm 118:22. The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. The question is, why? Why are these symbols present in churches if they have no connection to Christianity? Is it possible that those who designed these churches embedded these esoteric elements intentionally, knowing they carried deeper hidden meanings? Some believe these elements are simply remnants of history, while others suggest they were placed to preserve an ancient knowledge that transcends religious boundaries. If the very buildings meant for Christian worship contain traces of something older, something more mystical, what does that mean for the faith itself? And more importantly, what other church practices might be hiding in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered? Let's go even deeper, because what comes next might be one of the most overlooked yet profound connections between Christian rituals and ancient mystery traditions. From the earliest days of Christianity, baptism has been seen as a sacred rite of passage, a spiritual rebirth, a cleansing of sins, and a public declaration of faith. The moment when a believer is submerged in water and then rises again is deeply symbolic, mirroring death and resurrection. But what if this practice is not unique to Christianity? What if baptism, in its very essence, shares undeniable parallels with ancient initiation rites, some of which were practiced by pagan and mystical traditions long before Christ walked the earth? Water has always been seen as a gateway between the physical and the spiritual world. In nearly every ancient civilization, it played a role in purification, initiation, and even transformation. The Egyptians, for example, had sacred Nile rituals where initiates were submerged to symbolically die and be reborn into higher spiritual awareness. In the mystery religions of Greece, initiates of the Eleusinian mysteries underwent purification rites involving water before they could receive secret knowledge about the afterlife. Similarly, among the Druids and other Celtic traditions, rivers and sacred wells were considered portals to divine wisdom, and submersion in these waters was believed to grant enlightenment. Could it be that Christian baptism carries echoes of these ancient rites, reinterpreted through the lens of faith? Biblically, baptism is deeply rooted in symbolism. Romans 6:4 states, "We were therefore buried with him through baptism into death, in order that, just as Christ was raised from the dead through the glory of the Father, we too may live a new life." This concept of dying and being reborn is central to many initiation ceremonies across various cultures. In Freemasonry, for example, initiates undergo symbolic death before being led into new enlightenment. In alchemical traditions, the process of dissolving and reforming an element mirrors spiritual transformation. Even Jesus' own baptism in the Jordan River, conducted by John the Baptist, followed a pattern eerily similar to ancient rites of passage, where a teacher or master figure would guide a disciple through a symbolic death and rebirth. One of the most striking elements of initiation rituals, both in Christianity and in esoteric traditions, is the concept of secrecy. In the early church, baptism was not an open event for the uninitiated. Rather, it was conducted in hidden places, away from public eyes, much like the rites of mystery schools where only those deemed worthy could participate. The act of immersion in water, followed by emerging into the light, was not just a Christian doctrine but a universal motif representing deeper knowledge and spiritual ascension. Even today, some religious groups maintain initiation rites that resemble baptism, but with distinctly mystical undertones. So the question arises, when one is baptized, are they simply participating in a Christian sacrament, or are they unknowingly undergoing a ritual with roots far older than Christianity itself? Could it be that this practice, so central to faith, is actually a hidden link to ancient traditions of transformation and enlightenment? And if this sacred act carries remnants of older initiations, what other aspects of Christianity might have been shaped by the wisdom of the past? As we bring these revelations together, it's time to reflect. How much of what we know as Christian tradition is truly original, and how much has been inherited from the shadows of history? The answer may challenge everything we think we know. Now that we've uncovered these 5 shocking church rituals with hidden origins, the question remains, were these practices simply borrowed from older traditions, or is there something more sinister at play? Could it be that millions of people around the world are unknowingly engaging in rituals that were never meant to honor God, but rather serve another purpose entirely? One thing is certain, history reveals patterns that cannot be ignored. From the eerie similarities between the Eucharist and ancient blood sacrifices, to the hidden esoteric meanings behind church architecture, the evidence is there for those willing to see it. But what does this mean for believers today? Should these rituals be questioned, re-examined, or even abandoned? That's for you to decide. Now tell me, which country are you watching from? I want to see how far this investigation is reaching. Drop your country in the comments and let me know which of these rituals surprised you the most. And before you go, don't forget to hit the like button. That helps this information reach even more people. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another revelation like this. And of course, share this video with your friends and family. If more people knew about these hidden truths, would they still see churches the same way? Now there's another video on your screen that you need to watch. Click on it right now and continue this investigation with me. What you're about to discover next may shock you even more.